Hey guys, as you know, the Pyro Lectors are back in the Abyss, and I just want to make a quick video on how to deal with them with Childe, xingqiu, and neuvillette. As for other Hydra characters, you will be using similar strategies as you would with Childe or xingqiu, so this will be helpful even if you're using other characters like Ayato or Kokomi. I'll be demonstrating with Childe first. When the Lectors first appear, they're kind of far apart. You want to go to 3 or 9 o'clock to the side over here, and then the back Lector will move towards you and get closer to the front one. From there, you can use normal crowd control, like push back with Bennett's skill, and pull with Kazuha. Now you have them grouped together really well, and during this time, you want to be in a conga line formation, so you and 2 enemies make a line. After they get the shields up, you can't CC them anymore, so you need to have them as close as possible before they phase. When they phase, they will fall backwards from where they're facing. In general, they're usually facing you, so if you stay in the conga line formation, when they phase, they will fall backwards in the same direction. Soon, after they get the shields up, they will drop the Animus star on top of you. You want to hold the conga line position so that the star falls along the line. When you break the star, it will take a big chunk of their shield and they will fall back again. You have to attack the star and they're facing you, attacking the star. So keeping the star in the line so that they will fall backwards along the line. Now you can see they're still grouped pretty well after breaking the star. You can just go in between them, and Childe is able to break both shields at the same time. The next scenario I want to show you is how to handle when one phases before the other. So one fell back before the other. You want to keep the same line position so that when the front one phases, he will fall back into the other one. Now in this situation, the star will also fall separately, so you have to keep a position so that the front will fall backwards into the other one. So I go in front and then he will fall backwards, the next star falls, and then I have them fall backwards again, and now I can take care of the shields together. The last one I want to show you is if the Lectors end up a little bit apart, which happens a lot because of how the stars fall. As you can see, they separated after breaking the star. This happens a lot, so this is like a usual distance, but this amount of distance is fine for Childe's AoE, so just like before, after you break the stars, you can just go in between them. I go back and forth, but it's not really necessary. You can just do one, as long as you stay in between them, and then Childe makes quick work of that. Here's the overall strategy summarized. It's pretty simple, but at the start, you go to 3 or 9 o'clock. After they get closer, make a conga line and CC. After the Lector's phase, you just keep the line. Even if the stars fall, you hold the line, but after breaking the star, that's when you can go in between them. Now let's move on to xingqiu, who will be the fastest 4-star option. You start off the same, going to 3 or 9 o'clock, to have them move closer together, and then do normal CC to get them on top of each other. Now, I do want to point out that with xingqiu, when he casts his burst, he will push them backwards, so it's important that you are in the conga line at that moment so that he pushes them in the same direction. If you're in front of them like a small triangle, it's possible his burst will push them apart, so be careful about that. After they phase, it's the same as before. You stay in the conga line. When the stars fall, I use Kazuha so they don't knock me back, but then I get this great camera angle, but I think I broke the star, so now I can go in between them. And although xingqiu doesn't have as good AoE as Childe, his water sword shield can still touch the Pyro shield, and I use Kazuha to swirl. Then I'm using Bennett's skill to get particles, in case I need bursts later on. I stay in between them now, and this amount of distance is perfect for xingqiu. Now, I want to show you what happens when there's a bit more distance between the Lectors. In this case, I use xingqiu's burst, but I'm a little in front of them, so they do separate a little, and then when they phase, they're a bit more apart. And it's really hard to get them back together after this. Childe doesn't have an issue with this distance, as I showed before, but as you can see, it's a little too far for xingqiu. So to deal with that, I go for the one with more shield first, and try to swirl with Kazuha. they can still do it pretty quickly. I just need to cast the burst again. Let's move on to neuvillette with furina. I start the same at 3 o'clock, but with neuvillette, you don't have to worry as much about the grouping. They just need to be in a line. They don't need to be right on top of each other. So there's no need for crowd control like Kazuha. In other words, you just have a little bit more flexibility with your teams. In this case, because furina is hitting the front one, the front is taking much more damage. So I move to the back one to give the back one a bit of the business because I don't want them to phase separately. I want to phase them at the same time. Then just keeping them in a line with neuvillette's beam, it's definitely much easier skill-wise, even though Childe will still be a little bit faster. They do phase at the same time, but from now on, I'm okay with breaking one before the other. So I just break the stars, move forward, break one, and then move forward, and that's it. Now I'll show you neuvillette without furina. It's basically the same as before. I run over and get them close. The difference is that the damage taken by the front and the back is nearly the same, so I didn't have to run to the back. I did anyway. But they did take damage at the same time, and they will phase at the same time. But same as usual, you just keep everything in a line, and you maintain that line for the stars and just all the way to the end. Now I just want to show you the run times for the ones I just showed in this video. These times are from when the first shield shows up until the end of the run. As you can see, with some small hiccups, Childe can handle them in about the same time. As long as you have the good grouping before they phase, then they will be within range of his AoE. But for xingqiu, you can see how important it is to keep them grouped up and control where they fall back. Although this looks like it took a long time, I do want to note that compared to other Hydra characters, 50 seconds is still pretty fast, and that run left like 75 seconds for the second half, which is good enough for decent teams. So it is still a decent outcome and can result in full stars. The reason I'm showing you this though is that I want to emphasize how much time you're saving if you get the good grouping. Grouping is the biggest time saver for getting these guys. But in terms of ease of use, neuvillette is really nice because you don't have to worry so much about the grouping, and because there's only two, it's pretty simple to line them up as long as they are within the beam range. There's not much difference between with or without furina, because furina's skill is single target, but of course, when you have furina, the overall run might be faster. Like, you can do the first wave faster, and phasing the Lectors might be faster. But if you don't have furina, neuvillette can still be a solo option. Now you might be wondering about other characters, like Ayato or Kokomi, and in those cases as well, you will still need to follow the same grouping strategies as with Childe and xingqiu, so I don't think I need to go over all of them, but in my experience, if you only take one Hydro character in your team, Childe is overall the fastest in that case. This is most likely due to Riptide and 30 seconds of good Hydro availability. When I did Ayato Soup with Fischl, Ben, and Kazuha, he gets similar times to xingqiu. As for Yelan, she's actually slower with the shields than xingqiu. But as always, getting to the shield phase fast is also really important for the overall run, so it depends a lot on what characters you have built. So if you have time, I do encourage you to test it out yourself, but if you don't have time, I recommend Childe and xingqiu, maybe neuvillette. Let me know if you had luck with other Hydra characters and if you found this little guide helpful. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye bye.